welcome to Unmastered. I'm Emma.
And I'm Bohar.
And we are uncut and on the record with your favorite bands. So today we're sitting down with an artist who is still in the very beginnings of his music career. We're going to be getting to know him in real time along with our audience today, so this should be very fun.
In real time, I love that.
In real time. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself? We're going to start off with some icebreakers. So what's your name? Where are you from? What's your favorite ice cream? And what is the last thing you Googled?
Okay.
That's a good one.
My name is Corwin. My real name is Hudson Class. I am from Los Angeles, California. Well, there was another one in there. Is there ice cream question?
What's your favorite ice cream?
Okay. Vanilla, which I get made fun of for a lot.
No,
but
it's okay.
I stick by vanilla. There's vanilla in the fridge. Anyway. What's the last thing I Googled?
Was that an offer for ice cream?
No. I have my sweet mates think it's up for grabs. It's not. The vanilla in there is for me. But
is your name on it? You need to put your name on it in like all caps.
Genius. That's
we
genius.
have a Sharpie if you want to use it.
I actually, as soon as we're done, I'm gonna go do that.
Do it.
What's the last thing I Googled? Do I have to remember or can I look?
You can totally look.
Okay, because it's gonna be something really stupid.
It's okay. We're just like really invasive right now, but break the ice. Get all the awkward out.
Oh, the most recent thing I Googled is Rance's Pizza. Because I wanted to know if Rance's Pizza was open.
What kind of pizza?
Rance's. You ever been to Rance? It's on Jefferson. It's
no,
right here.
I've never heard of it.
Chicago. Before. It's like deep dish pizza.
Oh, nice.
It's right here. It's good. It takes forever, but it's good pizza.
Is it within walking
Chicago
distance?
pizza usually takes like 40 minutes.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a way, but yeah, it's right. It's like right here.
Oh wait, so is that the difference between Chicago pizza and New York pizza? Like New York is thin crust and Chicago is deep dish.
New York pizza takes like a minute to cook.
And anyone, it's.
I didn't know Chicago style pizza was a thing.
Really?
I had no idea. I'm a huge
it's a big
pizza
war in the
fan.
pizza community.
Really?
Yes.
Pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
You know, I don't hate it.
I am a fan.
I don't hate it.
I
wouldn't order it. I wouldn't order it just because I don't like. If I'm ordering pizza for myself, I'd probably just go cheese. But if someone gives me a pineapple slice of pizza, I'm not going to be like disgusted.
Yeah,
it's pizza. It's fine.
Pizza.
I mean, there's like a savory sweet thing going on there. There's a reason that you'd put it on the pizza. I don't hate it.
I'm a really big fan of pineapple and jalapeno on pizza.
Oh, I had that the other day.
Wow.
And
I've never tried that.
It's a really good combination.
It is.
Because it's like salty, sweet, and it's like a little kick with the jalapeno. It's a great time.
All right.
It's definitely a great time.
Give that a shot.
So now that we're talking about pizza, I'm definitely hungry. So let's kind of jump into it. You're still kind of fairly new to the music scene in LA, like at least getting your start. Can you give us a background about your relationship with music, kind of growing up and now?
I've just always, my parents are both really, they're not musically inclined, but they're like big fans of my dad's a huge Elvis Costello fan. That was a lot in the house. They're both huge Prince fans. My dad, it was interesting. So my dad growing up showed me Vampire Weekend and the Arctic Monkeys and the Strokes. And then I got to high school and I realized that everyone else in the world was also listening to those bands. And I thought they were just like the bands that my dad knew, and he was just like the guardian of all alternative rock music.
Your dad had good taste in music.
He turned me on to stuff that to this day I'm like, oh my god, most people have to sort of stumble upon that as they get in later. But so I've always sort of been interested in it, and I've always really enjoyed writing. I'm majoring in screenwriting. So it's really I always enjoyed writing songs just sort of for fun. I picked up piano pretty young, just trying to teach it myself. I took a lesson for a little. But basically, in high school, I realized that I cared about music too much not to really try to do it. So for about a year and a half, I made an EP almost completely in secret. I told maybe 3 or 4 people that it existed. I showed it to no one, not my closest friends or people that nobody really saw it. And then I put one of the songs that I had made up, and really talented people just that I knew from school and in my community were like, this is cool, I want to work with you. And that's how I ended up in some of the working relationships I'm in now. And yeah.
That's fantastic. We're definitely going to touch on that EP later because we have a lot of questions about it.
Okay.
But yeah, I think that's super cool. Like, I know that, I mean, I got involved, I'm not musically inclined, but I grew up around alternative music. That kind of same situation where most people have to stumble onto it. That's what I grew up around, just based off of my mom and my, she always had music going, so I definitely can relate to that kind of aspect of it. So you were saying about how you like kind of made that in secret and you just were kind of, you know, dabbling here and there. Is it hard to break into the scene as an artist just barely starting out? I mean, you seem to get those relationships very early on, which is fantastic. Kudos to you.
Thank you. It's definitely, it's very difficult to go from thinking about yourself as a person who tries to make music versus someone who can actually put out a song. For some people, I think because of the way that they socialize, it's very easy, the idea of them becoming a musician or becoming a performer. They can just record something in the bedroom and drop it. But I was never that guy because I was so nervous about, you know, embarrassing myself, really. I think a lot of it is just taking spending enough time on something that you can look at this and be like, if tomorrow people were to mock me about this, I could still go home and be like, no, like, this is cool. I enjoyed making this. I enjoy listening to it. And just being proud of your work that way, when you're having a moment of dissonance and you're thinking, okay, I don't know if this is for me, like, this is stupid. If I keep this on my hard drive, I'll save myself a lot of trouble. Go back to your work and be like, okay, well, I like doing this, and I think other people might enjoy partaking in it. So.
Definitely. Is it kind of like you're talking about kind of being nervous about it, is kind of like who you are as Hudson different from maybe who you become when you do music as Corwin? Is there a difference?
Absolutely. I mean, especially because storytelling is really important to me, and I know that's a term that gets like used so much. But I'm really a writer. Like, that's the thing that I'm really the most passionate about. And for me, and it's changed a lot, but especially with the EP, I mean, Corwin like says a lot of the stuff that I wouldn't say to the people, especially like people that are close to me. So I think for me, he's like, as a character, it's just sort of my opportunity to really cut away at a lot of the stuff that's getting between me and saying how I feel.
So is it more or less of like, is it a persona that you're taking on, or is it just like a different part of you, so to speak?
It's definitely, it's like, I think it's like right now, especially with the records that I put out thus far, it's really just sort of been a blank canvas that I can just sort of project the stuff that I'm like passionate about onto. And I think we're really different in that you're just never gonna hear me express some of the things. There is no other way for me to express some of the stuff I talk about.
So it's kind of like a really good like outlet for you to use, definitely.
And I mean, I have so much fun just as who I am as a person and who I am with music. I kind of am really looking to explore how the two things are going to differ and become more and more different, because I grow very tired of talking about myself and in my exact form.
Well, welcome to a podcast
I
where
know,
all you do is talk about yourself.
When I mean talk, when I say talk, I really mean write. Okay. Because I'm a writing student, and so much of it is like, I'll be sitting down to write about something that happened to me. I'll just go, I wish that I could put this on to some other guy and make him in my image and sort of allow him to go through all this stuff again. Okay. But yeah.
Definitely. So that's what we want to talk about next, is that you are a student at USC. So you're not a music major.
I'm not.
What is your major?
My major is screenwriting at the School for Film and Television.
So how did you kind of get involved with that?
I think, well, really, I've always really been passionate about stories in any form.
Okay.
Especially television for me. It's a weird thing to be passionate about because people sort of think of it as like a lesser art. But to me, I mean, that's...
No, I totally get it.
To me, it's more satisfying to me than than movies.
Okay.
And to certain people, I think that's kind of crazy. But basically, I was always sort of, I would just write things by myself and I would shoot them. And then I had my buddy Henry who I went to high school with. He was taking the screenwriting class at our high school. And like, I got to read some of the stuff that he wrote and hear some of the stuff that his peers had wrote. And I realized like, if I wanted to, like, I could really it was a similar thing with music where I was writing this stuff on my own and then I realized like that I really wanted to share it with other people.
Okay. Was that like a hard step to take, like from writing it just for yourself versus starting to share it with people?
It is different, and it's especially different because I would often write things to shoot them for the film classes that I took in high school. But I got to a point where I realized that the part that I really liked was the writing part, and that I wanted to really focus in on that and make that the thing that I really wanted to get better at.
So how did you kind of get your start with screenwriting and getting involved with like that kind of television aspect of it? Like, is that just
I think
one day you were like, I want to do it, or?
I was just, well, I mean, in a lot of ways, it's unfortunate. The college process, it basically asks you to pick the thing that you think you're good at and the thing that you think you care about. And I was thinking about what I cared about, and I realized, like, if I could do anything that's a job, that's like a job where you come in and you clock in and then you leave, I would want to write. Okay. And I would want to write for TV. And, I mean, and I think to me, it's just, like, a different... I just really like to write. I like to create characters and tell stories, and that's the way that I'm doing it as it relates to my academics. But I'll do it however I can. However
you can, whichever outlet you can. So do you think you like? I mean, with the whole TV versus film thing, like, not that you like have to pit them against one another, but
I have arguments as to why TV is better, but
why do you think it is like that you gravitate more toward television? Is it because the story continues longer than a film? Because if you think about it, like television,
episodic television
continues.
It's a few things. One, my attention span is not great when it comes to certain things, especially watching, because I tend to be very scatterbrained. And what happens is if I have to sit in silence for anything, once I get past 16 minutes, it's something has to be really, really engaging for me to stick with it. And that's just my brain chemistry. Okay. It's upsetting, but...
Good thing this podcast is no more than that.
But that's, I mean, it's something, there's something about, like, I really like this idea that you can create characters and get to know them and then fall in love with them, and then it's comforting to me. Where watching a movie sometimes is like a plunge into the unknown where you don't know, am I going to care about these people? Are they going to do it? But when I come back to a TV show that I've been watching for a year, I know I already care about these people. So even if it's not my favorite episode in the world or whatever, I know that I'm going to care about these people. I'm going to care about what's going on.
And you'll watch it regardless.
I will, but that's the thing, is I think sometimes people think about it, it's like, okay, now you care about, so you found one episode of, what's a good example? Like, you found one episode of 30 Rock funny, so now you're just going to watch the rest because you're brain dead or something. But it's really just that at the end of a long day, I want to sit down and check in, like, with characters that I know are going to be comforting.
What are they doing this week?
It's really that, but it's also, I mean, the same goes for stuff that's not funny. It's like, even with, I watched Breaking Bad over the course of a couple months because my professors were telling me that it was one of the best things that had been written. So I was sort of obligated to see it. And that's one of those things where I don't want to sit through a 3-hour movie. Like, I die. But I will sit through 50 hours of television over the course of a couple months if I really start to get connected to the characters. There's something that's always been to me, like, I always want to come back to characters that I've enjoyed, and that's to me really important with music as well. It's like, you want to see what this person that you care about is going to do next. What's the continuation of their story, and that's
I think the timeline and like the longevity of television is actually, like, just sitting here thinking about it now, like, that's something I didn't even like put together, is that it's literally over months or years, depending on how many seasons a show has, that you do start to form kind of these bonds with characters, whereas a movie, it's just like, all right, 2 hours done, I'm out, like, that was it. So
yeah, it's tough for movies because they give you a summary of who the person is within, like, 2 minutes, and you're supposed to be like, oh, he's the good guy, and I'm supposed to love him. and with TV shows, like, for, like, The Office, like, I didn't care about Creed very much, but, like, season 5 came around, and that episode with the, you know, the Staying Alive one. You guys know which one I'm talking about?
I do, but I've never watched
Did
The
they
Office.
do CPR on dummies?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, I've seen it.
Creed is the funniest person in that entire episode. You just rewatch it once and listen to all of his one-liners. It is the funniest thing, and he's underappreciated. This is my advertisement for Creed. You should just watch The Office one more time.
Never watched it to begin with.
Oh my gosh, missing out.
Whoops. Oh well.
Well, that's a bit blasphemous. You gotta watch out. Watch out when you say that.
I'm gonna get a bunch of like fans of The Office just like bullying
Just
me
like,
on
this
social media now.
podcast, they're not even talking about music. They're just talking bad about the greatest comedy event of all time.
I mean,
On
like,
Patreon, unsubscribe.
in our defense, we talk about the 1975 every single episode.
Well, why did you
That's
bring it
really
up
funny.
now?
I wasn't really familiar with their stuff, but one of my sweet mates showed me their most recent thing. It's like Love It If We Made It, whatever.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
I like that song. That's
Dude,
a good song. I'm not familiar with their stuff, but I enjoy
Starts
it.
off so intense. Like
He's yelling.
Like,
Yeah,
I'm
he's
serious.
yelling
No.
the entire song.
So like it came out and like I didn't have a chance to listen to it, and then it's like 9 a.m. and I'm awake. Like I should go listen to the song, and it's like this tune. I'm like, all right, and then all of a sudden he's just yelling, "We're fucking in a car, shooting heroin," and I was like, whoa, it is 9 a.m.
Yeah,
What's
and
happening?
I'm like over here, my innocent little, and I'm like, hell yes, I relate to this so much.
We really don't. And we're coming back. So, with television, do you have like a specific favorite genre or kind of TV show, or is there something you resonate more with than others?
I don't know. I like all of it. I've connected with like both comedies and dramas, and there's a lot of different variation within the genres. I think for me, like you have shows that you understand are like great, that are masterworks like Breaking Bad or something like that. And then I watch Game of Thrones, and I know that in the most recent season the writing is pretty poor, and I'll still watch it because you care, and sometimes that'll happen with the show. But with comedy, I mean, it's the same thing with I don't know if you guys are familiar with The Marvelous Miss Maisel.
Oh my
It's
gosh,
on
I
Amazon.
freaking love that show. You were the first person who knows that show.
It's a 60-minute comedy, which is an anomaly in the genre, and it's brilliant. And I understand that it's brilliant and it's really well done. And then also, of course, I'll watch Arrested Development again, and I know, okay, well, I've seen this 3 or 4 times. Mm-hmm. This is absurd. There's so many things I could be doing right now when I'm watching this, and still I'll go back to it. So, I mean, and that's another thing I really like about TV is that...
Hi, roommate.
Yeah, that's... I don't know. I don't need a show to be amazing for me to want to watch it. And that's the same way with music, too. You listen to something and be like, oh, this isn't genius, but you still can really enjoy
rock with it. Like, this... I mean, like... If we're gonna be like real here, like I know like Lainey, their lyrics necessarily aren't super profound, and a lot of them repeat, but like I'll still vibe to it.
I'm not familiar.
Really? I mean, probably because like the demographic is like teenage girls.
I guess
a little bit. I mean,
I can't. I'm not.
That's okay. We'll expose you to it later.
All right, thank
well,
you.
we have a playlist.
We do have a playlist
that you can follow and
podcast
listen to.
playlist.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? We're gonna do one for you too. Like if you send us like 10 to 15 of your favorite songs, we'll make a little playlist that
and then all of your listeners can listen to our playlist inspired by you, or is that how we're doing it?
Pretty much. Yeah.
We'll have other artists on there as well with their own playlists.
That'll be a great time.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Rolling back in. Are you very like... I know we keep talking about television, but like it's fun to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
But
screw music.
We'll get to.
Whatever.
I'm getting to
Music.
it right now.
Whatever.
I'll talk about it right
Whatever,
now.
dude.
We're uncutting on the record. Shit happens. Okay. Are you someone who likes or like pays attention to like what music like either original scores or like what music they just put into shows, or not as much? Because I know, like for me, like I'm a huge fan.
That's a great question.
Like Stranger Things, I love like the whole 80s soundtrack of like all those old 80s songs, but they're also like the original score. Like that is, to me, it blows my mind because I'm just so impressed by all of it. Is that anything that you ever get involved in, or do you kind of keep them separate?
I mean, they're not separate for me at all. I mean, I think there's music supervision is a really important part of television, especially if you want a show to really culturally resonate as it airs. A good example is Atlanta, if you're familiar with the show.
Yes.
The music supervision on that show is amazing. They blend so much contemporary music with so much stuff that's more retro, and it really helps set the scene, especially for a show about musicians. About one of the main characters is a musician, and without it, the shows they'd be at a huge disservice, not really thoughtfully curating what goes on there. It's always, you always hope that, and Miss Maisel does a good job of this too. Period. I mean, Stranger Things is a good example of something that's, you know, a period. It's not a period piece like Elizabethan or anything, but if you really want to put people in a time and a place, you need music.
I think Marvelous Mrs. Maisel does a fantastic job of that too. It's definitely, and the way they place it in there, it's like the perfect timing, and that's just a very like good show, and I'm glad someone else knows about it. So since you are like going to school for kind of like the whole screenwriting and television, and you're so involved in that, how did this whole Corwin project come to fruition for you?
Well, basically, in terms of how did I decide to, like, with the aesthetic of the music, or what do you mean?
Just kind of how did you decide you wanted to...
When was Corwin born?
Yeah.
Oh, when was Corwin born?
That's a good way of putting it.
I was a junior in high school. I was taking a music production class.
Okay.
I was making stuff that I liked. I wanted to write over it. I posted about this. When I first played the instrumental, I first played the first song that I ever ended up releasing. I played it in class, and I was too scared to leave the vocals in. So I just played them instrumental to the song. And now, I mean, not even seeing people listen to it and like it, but just knowing that it's out there is like a huge thing for me, because I went from being too scared. And this program is small. There were only about 3 or 4 other people in the room.
Oh, wow.
I wouldn't show the song to like 5 kids. And to go from there to releasing it has been really important to me. But the genesis of the project was really that, you know, I was going through, as all periods are, I was going through a rough period. And I was very repressed because of some of the social situations that I was in. And I was put in this position where I just needed somewhere to dump all of the stuff that I felt like I couldn't say to the person that I was with, to my friends, to my folks. I really had no one to tell it to. So I was just like, well, I'm too scared to put this music out. So if I put stuff on here that's super revealing or personal, who cares? And then I got to the point where I was like, I want to release this. And I realized that a huge part of what what piqued people's interest when they first heard my stuff was just how it had been written in such a way that you thought maybe the author like wasn't planning on showing it to anyone else. Yeah. And that's what really was the genesis of the Corwin character in terms of the style that the music was, where I realized I'm going to take all this stuff that's personal and private, and I'm just going to sort of give it to these other people. And then I sort of saw the reaction sort of was what created it for me. People were telling me, like, I really like the way that you were telling stories on the album. It was really interesting. Like, the first time I ever played any of my stuff live, it was like this tiny thing in someone's bedroom, like one of my friend's bedrooms, and it was like a barbecue basically, and I played. And this young woman that I went to high school with came up to me and she hugged me. She's like, "You just reminded me about like love, and like love is cool." And the craziest thing about it is, to me, my stuff is, especially for my EP, is so deeply upsetting and sad and has such a negative outlook on what it's like to be. Like, to me, for her to say that was like, I realized that by putting it out, it's no longer yours anymore to a degree.
Yes.
Other
Yes.
people get to hear it and be like,
oh my
I
gosh.
love this, I hate it, this is about love, this is about, you know, a facsimile of love, like a portrait of love that isn't real or whatever. But I think from when I'm sure this should be part of the answer too, is from a more genre space, just listening. I was slowly finding my way. I don't know if you guys are familiar with his earlier work, but basically my best friend from high school showed me a song by Chance the Rapper called Prom Night.
Yeah.
And it's corny, but it's like, that was just like, oh my God. Like, there was something, that was the corner of the music world that my dad, being so good at showing me cool stuff, wasn't privy to, because it was really young people's music, especially when these guys were more in the underground. So then all of a sudden, it sort of, the curtain got thrown back on alternative rap music, and not even just that, but just what alternative music, in sort of, even in a more genre way, had become. I picked up on that, and that's just that time and that place and that new music in my life. It all just sort of came together, smushed together, and that's the inception of Corwin.
Yeah, I want to touch on a few things you said about how, I mean, first of all, when you said you put music out there, it's no longer yours to some extent, and I think that's a very good way of putting it, because once you put music out there, like, someone's going to interpret it in a different way than maybe you had intended it for, and that's just all art. And that goes with all art in general, based off of the individual's experience. So therefore, they're going to see it in maybe a completely different way than you did. So, I mean, that's definitely got to be kind of funky as an artist when you wrote it for this reason and someone comes at you with a different reason.
I put out the first song that I ever put out when the young woman that I was seeing at the time heard it. She was fucking furious. She wouldn't talk to me.
Who wouldn't?
Oh my God.
My girlfriend at the time.
Oh, really? Okay.
She was, and I thought I had written a song in her honor, to some degree. I thought that the moral at the end of the story, so to speak, was one that put her in a positive light. Okay. And she did not agree.
Oh, wow.
And that's really hard, to make something and labor over it in secret, and then have someone that you care about be like, what is wrong with you?
Oh my goodness.
And that's rough. And I can tell that you think it's rough, because...
Oh yeah, we're definitely like... Oh,
yeah, Jesus. I mean, and it's... the song is called Funk, and then I rewrote it. I not rewrote it,
Funk 2, right?
I rearranged it for my next set of releases. And that song, which may be one of the songs that... it should be one of the songs that is part of this podcast. But basically...
We should play it.
Since we're on the topic of it, why don't we...
Yeah,
you go ahead and tell us about it a little bit, and then we can play it.
Yeah, I mean, that's... those lyrics are the lyrics that I was just talking about, and that's sort of... The hook is a little bit in your face, and a little bit, something that maybe you'd be afraid to say to somebody, and that was when I was first hit with the realization that, Hudson and Corwin were going to be different whether I wanted them to be or not. And that I wasn't going to have a choice as to about what people saw when they looked at me, what people heard when they listened to the material.
Is there ever a time when you think, like, Corwin is more, oh, I had it and then I lost it, so we're gonna come back to it later, maybe, if I can remember.
If you can remember.
Oh my gosh.
In the meantime, we're
gonna go ahead and roll into Funk 2.
Yeah.
No. I wish I knew, I do. If we are in love, then why am I so afraid of you, my dear? I think I want you near like if we are in love, then why am I
my throat and my head and my hands, bare feet on the street. It's good to meet you. It's hard enough, but don't worry about how your friends treat you. Third-degree burns and secondhand clothes. Young lovers and I mutter, what are those? Lonely boy, you already know. We used to have friends I wasn't dating, that was long ago. And I don't wanna watch you leave, I'd rather see you glow. But I don't know, I like you. I used to think my friends were alright dudes. We used to get along if I was in the right mood. Well, we're together now, to you that may not mean much, but I'm in love and that's what I'm so afraid of. I said if we are in love, why am I so afraid of you? My dear, I think I want you near, like, I said if we are in love, why am I so afraid of you? My dear, I think I want you near, like,
Okay, so you just listened to Funk 2?
Funk 2.
Yeah.
Too.
Funk 2.
So, can you
What a
describe what a what?
What a record.
What a
my
record.
God, what a
Oh,
track.
wow.
We totally
Wow.
listened to the
We-
whole thing right now.
We just did.
It was
and-
100%.
And I
We were
almost forgot
bopping.
how the song went, and I was reminded of just how great a record it is. So thank you.
You gotta gas
I'm
yourself
kidding.
up.
I'm kidding. Oh my god, I'm kidding. No, continue. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, I kind of describe your sound to us. It's kind of like an alternative R&B vibe, like
I'm
kind
gonna
of.
jump in on this question here. You said something about the alternative genre in of its own. When you say alternative, the first thing I think of is alternative rock, and you describe, at least on your Instagram, you describe your genre as alternative R&B, and you mentioned alternative rap also. So, do you have like? Is that part of the question of what you were trying to say?
Yeah, definitely.
Because
like how
would you first describe alternative R&B, and what makes you think that that's your genre? Wow.
What makes you think that's your no, I understand the question. Why you want to know why I said it?
Yeah.
Why I said R&B?
because I've actually never heard alternative R&B used as a genre or
exactly.
Yeah,
a description
it's
before.
an interesting thing because.
But I think it fits you perfectly. So
Thank you. You have a lot of people out right now. Your Rex Orange Counties, your Daniel Caesars.
Daniel Caesar.
What's another good example of somebody? The
Khalid.
Khalid. Well, actually, I would argue that Khalid is just normal R&B because of how many listeners he gets. But Clairo is a good example if you're familiar with her stuff.
Yes.
Basically, there's a lot of R&B music that borrows from a lot of other genres, as where R&B music in the mainstream right now is a very specific aesthetic, at least to me, and I don't operate in that aesthetic, so I felt uncomfortable using the word R&B without prefacing it somehow, because I think right now when you tell someone you're going to give them an R&B record, they're looking for trap drums, they're looking for moody synth, and you're not going to find a lot of that in my music. And the truth is that I don't think that the artists that are my contemporaries, the people that I'm closest with, someone like Rex Orange County, I don't think they really have a name for what they're doing quite yet. Because, I mean, Rex sounds almost like, you know, he sounds more like Frank Sinatra than he does the leading, like, R&B artists of 2018, but that's the closest thing I think, because he's not making rock music, he's not rapping, he's somewhere strange in between.
Yep.
So... and I try alt R&B is the closest I can get. I've also used the word neo soul. That's a term that gets
I've heard that
thrown
one as
around.
well.
You've referred to.
Yeah, I've heard neo soul also, and I think it's a beautiful genre.
That's like Hiatus Coyote, if you're familiar with them at all, or I mean a lot of Kali Uchis. Are you familiar with their records?
Yes.
So I mean, also you could on what Tyler the Creator's doing. It could even be. I mean, that's obviously rap music, but there's a lot of, you know, I guess you could call neo soul there. So the genre name for me, it's really, I don't know exactly what I should be calling my stuff, because it feels like I'm sort of, especially with this album that's forthcoming, it's really just me trying to figure out who I want Corwin to be. So I'm dipping my toes in the water of a lot of different genre spaces. There's songs where I'm there's gonna be like songs on the album where there's a lot of rapping and very little singing, and then songs where you're not hearing me rap at all. Some people might hear this stuff, that, like especially on the EP, and be like, "That's not really rap. That's spoken word, or that's just singing with a specific inflection, whatever." But the genre for me is just really to try to communicate to people that listen to the type of music that I do. Someone like Joji, for instance, who's doing it, like to communicate to them, hey, like this is the general space that I'm in.
So who would you maybe consider your influences for this very eclectic sound of yours? Like, is there anyone you look to for inspiration?
I mean, the guy that I've I don't like the word stan. Because it's become
it's such a weird word.
It's become very tiresome. It's based off a song that's very sad.
Yes.
But, I mean, the person that I've looked up to the most is Childish Gambino.
Okay.
Because he's always been personal. He's always jumped between genres. He's always been very particular about having the albums feel like there's storytelling aspects and that they exist sort of with some sort of common narrative, common themes. I mean, he wrote his most recent release. He said that while he was writing Atlanta, working on Atlanta, and he was talking about how to him the two things were two halves of the same thing, and that they were deeply connected, and that he didn't think of them as two different projects in a lot of ways because they all came from a similar headspace. I mean, and that to me is my, like, to work on something in the film space and to work on something in music and have the narrative and have the narrative for both and really be important, have all that really, I'm sorry, I'm becoming inarticulate because I'm hearing my sweet mate play guitar.
I heard it too, and I was just like,
and
nice.
It scrambled my brain and I was just like, oh, I forgot how to speak English there for a second. Basically, he's always done what I want to do. He makes TV shows. He makes records.
Yes.
He gets personal. He tells stories, and that's always what I wanted
to do. Kind of like a jack of all trades, but
exactly.
I think the expression goes jack of all trades, master of none. But I think in his case, he's the master of all of it. Yeah. And that's the crazy thing about him is that he was never a screenwriter trying to. People for a while thought he was an actor trying to rap, or that. Now they were like, okay, is this just a rapper trying to do TV? But he's not trying. He's not like trying his hand at any of the stuff. He's
like going all
in it, and he's talented with it, and he's just a
triple threat.
And
but I was gonna say that, but I think like he does more than that. Like he's got
quadruple threat.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, he sings, he raps, he directs, he writes, he acts. It's a lot of stuff. That rhymed a little bit. Yeah, and he had a stand-up special as a young guy, which is insane to think. I don't think I know anyone who's done an hour
I think it's called
Weirdo. It is called Weirdo.
Yes.
And then just never done stand-up again is insane. Insane.
I think that was his way to break into the industry, and he got what he wanted. I think he released that right before he was on Community, and then once he got the Community gig, he did Childish Gambino, and then after that,
I think his start was writing for 30 Rock that was his very first gig as a writer. But that wasn't one. He wasn't really a name. He was just a guy on the writing staff of a show that was doing well. He wasn't a performer. He wasn't really even on screen. He was with a troupe called Derek Comedy. I don't know. I'm not trying to give this guy's biography. The point is this: he started writing television, and now he's performing at the Grammys.
Yeah,
that's the closest you're gonna get to me being like my ideal trajectory.
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of like
what you want.
I mean, that is what I want to do, and. So, I mean, yeah, I get that it's kind of, standing someone or whatever. It's not an ideal situation. I'm not using that word again. Really getting into an artist in all their different facets, it can feel a little like, is this weird? Is this creepy? Like, what am I doing? But then I realize, like, it's really just because I see in him the sort of all the stuff that I care about, and I see him doing it, and it's just really to inspire hope.
Definitely.
What you can potentially become.
Definitely. Yeah. So is there anyone who, like, I know we just talked about him, but, like, if you could have, like, a dream collaboration with anyone, living, dead, like, who would you pick?
Obviously he's that guy, but there's also, the people, and this is, like, a weird connection, but, like, someone that I've really grown to admire is Tyler, the Creator, because of the way that he collaborates, because he doesn't go... Oh, it'd be cool. Like, I'll see the most famous person I could get on this track. he has an idea for a song for an album, and then goes, who's gonna make this the best thing?
Didn't he like post on Twitter a couple, I don't know, maybe like 6 months ago, literally just saying, I want to collab with someone, like, drop your
send me
whatever
your
send me your
handle.
videos, handles, whatever, in the comments. And then I know a ton of people commented. I don't know if anything became of it, but
yeah, I mean, he's just, his spirit about that whole thing is really, I mean, I would want to work with him because he's a really talented producer and a really talented rapper, but he's also, it's just, you can get from him that he, in the same way that Gambino is, in the same way that I'm trying to be, I'm really struggling to, not struggling, but that's really what I'm working towards, is being so, having such a good understanding of what I want a project to be, that I can orchestrate and be like, let's get this person, like, someday being like, I want this person that I like on this track, not because I get more clicks or because they have a big name, but just because, like, what I want this track to be is going to be serviced by their presence.
There you go. I think that's a great way of looking at music. I think sometimes people, and I don't like to say people sell out, but like, I feel like sometimes people do sell out just because they want to feature whoever's popular at the time and whatever, just for the sake of kind of going off, I hate this word, but the whole clout situation, like doing that. And so I think that's an admirable thing, to actually like make music how you want it, with who you want it, because that's how you want it to sound, not because you want it to be on the radio or whatever. So very cool. So do you think that kind of, I know we were talking about like Childish Gambino, this actually kind of plays into it really well. Do you think that having a background and experience in like screenwriting kind of influences your music, and does it give you a different perspective when you write music?
Definitely. I mean, to me, it's like, it's all flexing the same muscle. It's like, can you convey emotion? Can you inspire people to convey emotion on your behalf? Whether it's an instrumentalist or an actor, you need to find a way to take something that really, oftentimes take something that happened to you or an emotion that you really felt, and explain to a group of people how to convey it, and then hope that that product can convey your vision to whomever takes part in it. And to me, like, this is kind of strange in a way, but like, to me, like a season of television, and the idea of what a season of television is and the idea of what an album is, to me, are very similar. Because you need every song to work, and you need the album to work, and you need to care the whole time. There's a flow, there's a rhythm, excuse me, and there's a pacing that, and you have to work on those transitions, and you want people, every song, every episode, to go, okay, I care about whatever's going to happen to this guy next. And there's also, there's some songs that are just going to be jams, that are just going to be right? And in the same way that sometimes on shows, especially big budget, something like Game of Thrones or what have you, there's going to be spectacle. There's going to be fun. You want to see your two favorite hot, characters get together. You want to see, the begrudging, like, older sort of guarded character soften up a little bit and being, be companions with the cute other, like, I'm getting to it. My point is that the two, to me,
they go hand in hand.
They're two sides of the same coin, which is like, can I connect with people by telling stories?
So with all of that in mind, how do you write your music? Like, what is that process for you?
A lot of it, I mean, I just sort of think of stuff while I'm walking around. I put it in my phone. I think that's a pretty standard thing for a lot of people that write. Definitely. They just sort of jot stuff down. But for me, it sort of starts with, this is the best way to, it's like, it starts with a scene.
Oh,
like,
wow.
I want to know, like, I need to know what the song looks like, and what the character's going to go through, and what's going to change, what's going to happen at the end that wasn't going on in the beginning. And that's what really threw me about showing Funk 2 to my girlfriend at the time, because the hook of the song is, if we are in love, why am I so afraid of you? And that's hard to hear, and that's kind of garish and a little bit confusing. But by the end, Corwin says, like, we're in love, and that's what I'm so afraid of. And in my head, that's like a scene or an episode, so to speak. And at the beginning, he's scared and he's afraid and he's self-conscious, and he learns not to be afraid of something that ultimately he really cares about. But that doesn't always come across, especially to the people that you're writing about. I also have a line on that song that's like, sort of alludes to me and my friends drifting apart from one another, and that was hard for them to hear.
Yeah.
But to me, like, that's not the end of the story. Like, to me, the story isn't.
It's not over. Yeah.
It's not over. So, a good example is, I mean, there are certain, like, just sort of, I mean, all the stuff that all the songs that I write have a thesis, and that's a weird way of thinking about it, because
that's a good way of putting
thesis makes you think about like an essay that you wrote in the 7th grade.
it.
But I don't want to, like, even when something's just sort of a bop or whatever you want to call it, like, there needs to be a thesis so that I come away knowing what the philosophy of the song is. Like,
You're like really blowing my mind right now.
I'm sorry. No, I mean...
No, I love
this.
But
that's like...
You're really making us think.
Well, thank you. I mean, I just can't listen to a song if I don't understand the point of view of the person who's... And that's why... That's what's really helping, like... That's the core of punk. And, like, when I say punk, I don't mean punk rock. I mean, especially with hip-hop music, like, with Brockhampton, which is a group that's doing really well right now, you understand their points of view. And that's how you go from having no idea who they are to knowing all 15 members of the group, is because you start to learn every single line, even if it feels a little bit like it's something that you maybe heard before. It's their point of view. They're painting a picture of how they feel about things.
Yeah.
So, I mean... Yeah, I mean, that's taking, you know, me writing stuff on my computer and my notes and making it seem like some grand artistic journey. But it really comes down to the fact that, you know, something will happen to you and I'll think about how can I set the scene to talk about this in a way that's going to be engaging.
No, definitely. I think that you just totally gave us a little, like, peek into your mind and how you do that. And that was very fascinating for me because, like, I know people experience music different ways and people write music in different ways. Like, I'm a huge fan of a band called Bastille, and like Dan from Bastille, the lead singer, he sees things through movies. And I know John Bellion, he sees colors. So it's just interesting to see how different musicians, what they see in their mind and how it becomes a thing. So I think, like, the scene for you, I think that's incredibly fascinating and very cool that that's how you kind of experience music and see it. And I've never heard that point of view before, and that was so amazing.
Well, like, and that's the thing, is it kind of makes things easier, at least for me, because this is any friends of mine are gonna laugh at me when they hear this. You probably hear my roommate chuckle because the Screenwriting 100 class at USC is called Character, Conflict, and Catharsis.
I love that word.
That's also the backbone of any great song has character, conflict, and catharsis. You're getting to know someone. They're going through something. They're struggling with it, or even more, or like even if it's as simple as they want to party and they don't want to be told not to, or whatever. It doesn't have to be like conflict in the way that you think of conflict in a dramatic film. But then you have catharsis where you have your guitar solos, your big finishes, whatever. You have that moment of release, that part in the song that you want to sing along to. Like, the backbones of a great story are also the backbones, to me, of what makes a great song. So, to draw parallels between the two, that's the only way I know how to think about it.
No, definitely. I think just based off of that, like, I definitely, like, I'm, like, kind of wrapping my head around the whole thing. I'm slightly mind blown by it, because, like, now I think I can kind of understand how someone sees it from a different perspective, and I think that's a very, very cool perspective to have on music and in everything in general. Like, the more I think about it, the more, like, amazing it gets for me, so thank you.
It makes more sense as to how you would imagine it as a scene.
Yeah, and I think that says a lot about your music as well. Like, definitely having heard it and now hearing you talk about it, it makes so much sense, and it's very poignant, and I really like that.
Thank you.
So, I mean, now that we're talking about this music a lot, like, let's talk about kind of the story behind, I guess, the story within your music. On your social media, you have very interesting style for your Instagram.
Thank you.
I think. And
so
we're going to talk about some of it feel free to answer whatever way you'd like.
Okay.
So you have some of these pictures that appear to sort of have like some sort of line. So your name will be there and then a sentence or two below it. For example, just for the audience at home, there's one where it'll say like Corwin at the top, and then it says, enough, we both have places we need to go that we can't bring one another. And that's the end of it. So first of all, where did the Corwin name come from? And these sentences, are these lyrics? What are these?
The name Corwin I took from it's a pulp fiction, science fiction book that I was given to by an old family friend.
Cool.
It's like very sci-fi fantasy, and the guy who's the protagonist, who's like this dashing prince who comes back to the kingdom to reclaim the throne, is named Corwin.
Okay.
And I always liked the name, and I thought about, especially my very early work, featured me being very self-deprecative and very meek and very honest. And the idea of him being taking the name from like the swashbuckler who's this often sort of upsetting like caricature of masculinity from 70s science fiction, to me was like, okay, well, that kind of is perfect in that it's so wrong for the context. And the line that you read, those are lines of dialogue. I wrote a screenplay in companion with the upcoming record, a screenplay that I'm not right now planning to produce. I wrote it really as a tool for me to understand what I wanted the long-form story of the record to look like.
Oh, wow, okay. So did you kind of create those scenes as like a screenplay?
The caption of this particular photo is Act 5, Scene 2.
Oh, there you
go.
go.
All the pictures are numbered with the different scenes from the script that they take place in, and if you are, once the album is out in its entirety, you'll start to see very small things that sort of link some of those posts to some of the songs. Really, it's just, I wanted people, and I was talking to your friend Helen about how we can, about this idea that if Corwin is a character, people are going to want to meet him, and people are going to want to hear him outside of the songs. Yeah. If he exists outside of the songs, which he absolutely does. So, hearing him, like, I wanted people that were following me to hear him speak a little bit.
Okay.
And I think it's really important that I start to dip my toes in the water of his existence outside of music, not as it relates to film, as it relates to just existing as a character on the internet.
So what came first? The kind of screenplay? Is that screenplay or the songs? Or is it kind of like a hand-in-hand thing?
They sort of grew in tandem. I'm making... Okay. You can't see as I'm making a hand motion like vines growing together.
Yes.
What happened was I started bringing these songs together, the ones that I had written, things like Funk that I had early, the two other singles that I put out were drafted for the EP, and I realized that I didn't have what it takes to really do them justice. So those were older songs. And I realized like, okay, well, there's something here. I can feel like I have all these songs feel like they've joined together to say something about a more long-form story. And we had only made a few tracks for the album. We hadn't hit the track. The album is not long. It's 9 tracks, and it's not a long run time. But we're sort of probably midway through the production process, and I realized like, how am I going to know what song ideas are going to go forward if I don't know where I want the whole story of this whole thing to go? So I started taking this, like, because I had the 2 music video ideas, the 2 music videos that I have out now, I had those ideas as scenes. I had all these scenes, like these scenes that were separate scenes that I didn't have songs that didn't have scenes, and I was like, if I'm going to do this, I have to try to combine all the scenes to each other, all the songs to scenes, and really figure out, okay, like, what is this whole thing about? And in a way, that's not even for the audience as much as it's for me, because absolutely, like, are people going to listen to this record and know, oh, this is the minutia of the script. This is exactly what's happening from a scene-to-scene basis, one-to-one. No, because there are moments that are abstract, that are moments that deviate slightly from the character, what have you. But I realized, like, no one was going to get any part of the story if there wasn't a backbone there that they could draw from. So, are you going to, like, how do I put this? The album, like, you don't need to read the script. You're not going to listen to the album and go, oh, first Corwin walks over here, and then he goes over there and does this. It's not that, the ratio is not so 1-to-1 when it comes to the audience, because I knew that for this endeavor, I knew that it wasn't, that what I wanted to do it this way. Mm-hmm. But it was really important for me to know just the voice of everything. Because then it would come to the end of the album and I realized, like, what is the moral of the story if there's no story? There's no story. If there's no backbone.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's like a whole new way of looking at music that I find very intriguing, and thank you for sharing that with us, because that is definitely something that's so fascinating. So, I guess continuing on to I know you mentioned this like a little bit ago, but sometimes you have like these photos with these quotes that appear to be rather like deprecating.
Yes.
See, I knew that word. Like, for one of them, like, you have, as if it was a review saying, very weak vocals for me. I didn't find this well made. Altitude.com. Like, first of all, what are these? Are these fake? Like, real? Why? What's the story behind those?
Those are real comments that I've received on my stuff.
Really?
Submitting to music blogs.
Wow.
Interesting.
So basically what happened was, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the blog submission situation, but even songs that do well, the chances of you getting accepted to a blog, like, I have friends who have done crazy numbers in the hundreds of thousands and not made these blog submissions because, you know, the person that's taking the submissions doesn't give the song enough time, doesn't dig this genre, doesn't dig their stuff, what have you. So we started getting more of these negative reviews, and I realized I wanted to do something with them. Yeah. I hated the idea of this just being a loss, where we get all these comments from people who are not speaking about our stuff with much articulation. They're not really the way they're not. Some of them are very informed and thoughtful. Some of them are not. Yes. And I was like, oh my god, I this can't just be sitting on my Google Chrome, me just looking at all these negative comments. I want to do something with them. I posted a couple and people thought they were funny, so I kept doing it. That's what I thought. I thought it was... And I'm serious, like, I got a call from my mom that was, Hudson, honey, I've seen these posts and I don't think you should be doing this. And I was like, what do you mean? And I was like, Hudson, you know, I understand that it's funny, but, you know, it's not, you know, people don't always like being barraged with self-deprecative humor like that. Sometimes it can be off-putting to people that don't know you so well. And she's absolutely right, by the way. Thank you, Mom. But I do stand by. People thought the very few people in my circle thought they were funny. I don't regret putting them on.
Honestly, I mean, I was looking at them and I thought they were funny too. I thought those were things you just made up. So, like, knowing that they're real now, but you took it into something and said, like, screw it.
Yeah, you're taking it as
It was almost like a stick it to the man sort of thing, but...
It was my little,
in a humorous way.
My little rebellion, which is so silly because it was really just for me. I'm not sticking it to anyone.
Yeah.
But, we did get featured in a blog.
Okay.
And I realized, and that moment where I could turn around and have a quote from a blog that was actually positive, that's the last time I've quoted one, because I realized, like, we had all this, you know, mean stuff, this negative stuff, we got accepted, we got a nice comment, and that's where I kind of want these I want that to be the button on all this. Definitely. And the end of the day being, we're passionate, we like our work, there are people that understand that, people that like us and respect us. So I'm not planning on doing much more of that.
That's
honestly the blog submission thing. You know, it's not a part of the process that I love.
Yeah.
But
there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that goes on that I think the general public isn't aware of. That's just so tedious.
Yeah, just to get your stuff out there.
As an artist, you mean?
Yeah, as an artist, and like, I mean, I help some artists as well, so like, I'll help with that kind of stuff, so they don't have to do it, and it's very tedious and it's very time consuming, and it's like, I can understand why artists who are doing it on their own can get really discouraged with it.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, it's really difficult. You kind of have to become blunt to people that are giving you very little time, but are making you feel no better than someone who had given you all the time in the world.
Definitely. Well, I think now let's just talk real quick about kind of the EP you released to SoundCloud, the Youngman EP.
Mm-hmm.
How is your EP different or similar to the first 3 tracks you put out? Happy Happy, Funk 2, and I'm missing Kent.
Thank you.
Are they on the same kind of storyline, or are they separate from each other?
The 2 are separate from each other. The 3 singles that I put out recently were produced with Elijah Wells and Jessica Torrey, who are they're my team with production on this album. They're both super talented, and it's because of them that I could bring. I was drafting Happy Happy when I was drafting the EP, and I just realized I was like, all right, I want this to sound like a real, like, fun party record, like a Chance song, to some degree.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized, or like, it also has sort of a Rex Orange kind of feeling, and I realized I couldn't do that on my own. So, and it's, there's also, from a storytelling perspective, there's a huge, I just wanted it to be completely its own thing, and taking much more liberties with being silly and being fun and that's what you have the bear head, which is featured on the album art and in the video, because I wanted to sort of extend and play with what we were doing. Yeah,
the music video for Happy Happy, you have that bear that's following everyone around.
It's strange.
It's very strange. And then for Kent, you're covered in dots.
Yes. They're actually, if you look closely, they're actually stars.
Are they really?
They are.
How close should we look?
Close should I zoom in?
There's a couple shots where it's obvious, and there's a couple shots where it's less. I forgive you.
They are.
Well, this photo is very blurry. So.
That photo is very blurry. No, you don't need to know their stars from that. No, but
how long did it take to get this off?
The first time you wash them off, they turn purple, and then you have to just keep.
It's permanent marker.
It's makeup actually, but it's like makeup that's made to last all day. I don't know exactly the specifics of it, but basically, I didn't use makeup remover because I'm an idiot. So I just scrubbed the absolute shit out of my face.
I mean, you got exfoliated, so that's all that matters.
That's true.
How did those 2 concepts come about, with the Happy Happy and the bear, and Kent with the stars?
Well, it's for me, the videos were just taking the scene that I had in my mind when I wrote the song and combining it with abstract elements that I knew would keep people hooked. Okay. Not just keep people hooked, but provide a good backdrop for what was taking place. Mm-hmm. I wanted Happy Happy to be a little bit off.
It's very eccentric. I mean, you're playing a mini piano on the roof at one point.
I am
as well.
I didn't want it to feel. I wanted it to feel a little weird. I wanted people to know. I wanted people to look at this bear head and be like, "This is kind of fun. That's weird. Like, why are they? Why are they waking up together? Why is everyone almost like?"
I noticed everyone was in overalls too. Was that?
Yeah, there's a couple of scenes where we're all in overalls. Why is everyone so uniform? Everyone's a little bit too happy. There's my buddy is like, there's just sort of cuts to, my buddy who's shirtless skateboarding. It's sort of, you get this idea that something about this is a little there's something not real about this.
It's like it's from an alternate universe.
And I wanted to feel that way, especially the bridge of the song is sort of when you come to realize that Corwin is trying to take the first steps into making a choice that prioritizes self-love over the love that he feels for his relationship partner. Mm-hmm. And when I thought about it, I was like, well, this is a happy song, but it's also a song where someone is realizing for the first time that they might not want to be with this person that they're with. Mm-hmm. And I realized that it couldn't just be a happy, fun video. There has to be something about it that has to feel wrong. Like he's disconnected from this person that he's with.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And then it was so weird, but it was like it had a purpose and it served its purpose, and I think it did a very good job of serving its purpose. So I guess yeah, let's roll into the next song then. Which one would you like to play?
Happy. I guess we
we'll talk about it. We may as well play it.
You guys should listen to the song and like watch the video, but you can hear the song right now.
Yep. All right.
And so we'll go into it.
Happy.
Sun-kissed, wind whipped, I'm still on that happy. Spent the day in bed, it all depends upon that happy. I like my breakfast in bed, a warm shower and a quick kiss. The family's here, bring the wife and the kids for the fresh French toast and the cinnamon twist. As long as we're breathing, the whole family eats. Rainbows and sunshine and everything sweet. I mean, I never had a spring in my step or flowers in my hair. Wherever we're going, we're walking, man, I could use a fresh air. You're always on some happy shit. I gladly kiss you until my face hurts. You in that red skirt, what have I to lose? When that smile hits my face, I'm second place, standing next to you. Sun-kissed, wind whipped, I'm still on that happy. Spent the day in bed, it all depends upon that happy. Good morning, young sunshine. I used to fly solo, not anymore. We're like two birds in a sycamore. A sycamore? And I've been sick before, now I'm well. When in hell, do as the sinners do. I'm living proof that it's all about attitude. Yeah. On the seventh day the Lord made breakfast. On the first day the Lord made mistakes. The Lord made young men and killers and fakes. And the Lord made hatred. The Lord made cake and then he ate it all. And he blamed all he'd eaten on Satan. Here we break bread for the fairest of maidens. I like to start every day different, with the missus in the kitchen giving gifts like it's Christmas. Day ones and dailies, what an important distinction. It's like Corwin don't know how to listen. That's a sincere work of fiction. No, 2, 3, 4. I don't deserve happy. You gotta earn happy. I had to learn happy. She offered me some kindness, I said sure, gladly. I fell in love with her fastly, it was so nasty. She's from the valley, I'm from the burbs. I'm pretty great, she hadn't heard. Girl, I can make you happy, sure, but I gotta get my happy first. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sun-kissed, wind whipped, I'm still on that happy. Spent the day in bed, and it all depends upon that happy. Sun-kissed, wind whipped, I'm still on that happy. Spent the day in bed, and it all depends upon that happy.
You just heard Happy in that's one of my favorites from the 3 that you have out.
Well, I'd hope. There's not many other choices. You can really... I'm sorry. No, it's cool. Yeah.
I like that one a lot.
Thank you.
So I guess now, to wrap up, kind of just talk about any of your future plans, anything big happening soon. I know that your full-length album, Amber, correct?
Amber.
Is going to be coming soon. Do you want to tell us about making that one? Any favorite memories?
Favorite memories.
Story of the album?
Story of the album. Well, I won't...
We'll leave that one up for suspense. How about that?
Yeah, I won't get too much into it. I mean, it's about...
talk about maybe some favorite memories in making it then.
Yeah, I mean, just really getting some time to get to know my... really get into a good groove with Elijah and Jessica, who are my producers. We had a lot of fun because they're just the kind of people that, I mean, I'm very lucky to work with people that really dig the stuff that I write. So they're not doing it for me. We're doing it together.
Mm-hmm.
And that relationship is really what's made it so much fun. I mean, in terms of specific memories, I think and this is insane, we shot the Happy Happy video, and then I think within a couple days we did a show where Elijah's band played and Corwin had a set, and then the next day I moved in to SE.
Oh wow!
So it was
very quick
the
whirlwind.
most insane
Intense,
5 days of my life.
Oh,
because we almost it was three shoot days, and then rehearsals, and then the show, and then movement day. It was and that's the sort of point where you realize, like, if you can still really like someone after all that, then you got to keep them around, because anyone else, you're gonna get by the end of those 5 days, you're like, I never want to see you again. But by the end of the 5 days, we're like, oh my god, we're making songs. This is so sick.
That's fantastic.
Can't wait till you guys get back. All that. But yeah, it should be. We're finalizing the masters right now.
Perfect.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, the truth is the album, it's just a bunch of experiments and me telling stories about stuff that I care about. I hope that anyone listening to this will give it a listen, and
I cannot wait to
fun with
listen. I can't wait till this comes out and we can see more of this project and see just how this whole process kind of
and gather
continued.
The story in full.
Yeah, finally get a story in full would be fantastic. So I can't wait to hear it, and very, very excited for it.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I guess thank you so much for sitting
pleasure.
down and talking with us. Do you have any final comments? Do you want to plug any of your social media?
Yeah, where can we find you?
On Instagram, I am at YoungmanCorwin. Got 3 songs out right now under Corwin. Collaboration with my man Dipster. It's called Glass Half Full, which is also you'll find on some of my socials. That's like a cool track. Check that out. And Amber's due out in September, so give that a listen.
Cool.
Please.
Awesome. Yay, can't wait.
Perfect.
Now's the time where we play a 10-second clip of a track that we're featuring next week. Here we go.
Let him set all his own traps. Down to the crossings, he thinks that he's holy.
Okay, you just heard a 10-second clip of a track we are featuring next week. Try to guess what that is. Try to guess who we're interviewing.
All right, this has been Unmastered, and we'll chat with you next week.